Tastes like victory. Victory Tuesday show. Browns win. Fantasy football. Lots of impact there. And then it's on to Baltimore. Big show coming up right now on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
In the backfield, Latavius Murray. Huntley takes the shotgun snap. Back to pass. Looks. The ball got stripped away. In the air. The Browns fight for the ball. And it's picked up by Myles Garrett. He's going to score. Touchdown.
It's going to be sick.
So good. So good. Myles Garrett, how fitting of that intro there with Myles Garrett coming in because he was the absolute terror against the Tennessee Titans. Welcome, everybody. Andy McNamara with you. Got a big show for you today. We're feeling good. We got the W. We're rocking and rolling, but we got a lot to get to as well. There's injury updates. There's what to make out of that victory. My buddy Fracassi from SiriusXM NFL Radio is going to be stopping by. So stay tuned for all that. Make sure you click notifications on. You get the gear shop down below. You got a link there. Make sure you click that notification. Subscribe on Twitter at AndyMC81, at SickPodBrowns, Instagram and TikTok at AndyMCSports. And it was a great weekend. I was in Cleveland. If you follow the social media, you know I was doing the fantasy football, the Ask Andy picks there. You can get your fantasy football questions in, by the way, hashtag Ask Andy. So I was in Cleveland with my dad. We go down every year, and we had a phenomenal time. Found a great new place, Johnny's Little Bar, just off of West 6th. They treated Patrick McNamara, they treated us amazing. We had great food. We had drinks, and we got a big W. And Myles Garrett, let's start there, okay? Let's start there with Myles Garrett because this man was absolutely a terror on that Tennessee offense. And one of the things that happened, you know what? In fact, I'm going to give him the dog bone. Can we throw up the dog bone here? Can we get that? Let's give some dog bones out. Let's get some. There we go. So usually the doghouse is, who didn't play too well. No doghouse. Everyone's out. Everyone's running in the yard. Dog bone goes to Myles Garrett. One of the reasons why, if you hadn't seen on social media, was they assigned, the Titans did, not one, not two, but three players to try to stop him. And he still got 3.5 sacks and a forced fumble. It was hilarious. It's on, I don't know if it's Browns or whatever social media, but there's a video where Myles Garrett gets up and starts walking over to the left of the line. Two tight ends they have come up, kind of scramble over. Then Myles, toying with them, walks over to the right. And they go and they bump into each other and they have to call a timeout. Absolute wrecking ball. Alex Wright got a sack too. That whole defense just swarmed. Derrick Henry did nothing. They had more penalty yards than rushing yards. It was absolutely incredible. And Deshaun Watson. Now, the rosy overall picture is that Deshaun Watson had a great game. And in the end, he did. We got the win. That's all we care about. But it did not start that way. And he could have very easily been in the doghouse because he made a real questionable, quite frankly, a stupid back lateral pass to Elijah Moore, which went for a fumble. The Browns defense stopped. Then they went on. Jerome Ford, you can give him a dog bone too, stepping in for the full game for Nick Chubb. Beautiful 19-yard pass. And what I saw was confidence building in Deshaun Watson. That's what we were waiting to see. Familiar opponent, put up an incredible 123.4 QB rating. Sensational. But a familiar opponent that he's gassed in the past, and he did it again. And that just a touch on the deep ball. Amari Cooper, touch on the deep ball. Terrible non-call penalty, but it didn't hurt us in the end, and Amari got his touchdown. And one pass that I haven't heard people talking about, maybe he had to be there live like I was the pass that he threw to Donovan Peoples-Jones. And DPG, I think he only had he had 3 catches for 49 yards. One of them, I don't know why people aren't talking about this. It looked like a magic trick, folks, okay? The ball went up, and the coverage was so tight. We thought, all right, this is going out of bounds. The ball went, and then somehow it just vaporized into his stomach, and he caught the ball. It was an incredible pass. The placement was perfect, and the catch was better. I don't know why you don't throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones more. It seems like every game he makes an almost impossible pass. Get him the ball more. But we're not going to be too picky. Kareem Hunt in boy, man, came into the stadium wearing the Nick Chubb shirt underneath. And after the game, not on TV, he lifted up his shirt and saw the Nick Chubb number 24 there. Place went crazy. There was watery eyes and all that. Kevin Stefanski drove to Nick Chubb's house after the game, gave him the game ball, a motivator, and just that buildup, that rallying around Nick Chubb. And also some potentially good news is that, and I'm sure you've seen it by now, reported by Adam Schefter on Saturday, looks like just an MCL tear in that knee, which would only put Chubb out for 6 to 8 months. Now, reports after that came through where they have to still go in, assess the damage of the ACL. So it's still a bit of a moving target. But initial thoughts are that he could be out a whole lot less. And if it's only the MCL, he'll be back normal. Like I know a guy at the car dealership that we bought our car at. He's walking around no MCL. Now he's not running through 300-pound tackles, but you can get by without your MCL, and they're going to repair it. So great news for Nick Chubb potentially, and hopefully it goes that way. But what a win! What a victory! We're going to be on to Baltimore. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. If you have your fantasy football waiver wire questions, make sure you hit me up. Hashtag Ask Andy on social media at AndyMC81, Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC Sports on TikTok and Instagram. So just a phenomenal win. The city was buzzing. It was a relief. It wasn't like the jubilant eruption necessarily, but it was a relief. And the Ravens lost. Steelers, whatever. They ripped one off, and the Bengals got theirs back to get their first win of the season. So the Browns 2-1 in a huge game Sunday at Cleveland Browns Stadium for a share of first place in the AFC North. So Browns win 27-3, the most dominant victory I've ever seen in person. One of the best ones ever in that stadium, which hasn't had a lot of great moments. So dog bones all around. No one's in the doghouse, and we're all feeling good. Kudos to Pierre Strong and Kareem Hunt, who ran hard. Stat line doesn't show it. He had a key first down, really, and he looked good. Like he looked 2 years ago, Kareem Hunt good. 10 pounds lighter. He ran hard, made a key catch, made those key catches, and that's what you want. Right? And Jerome Ford, that catch in the end zone, and even Pierre Strong was running. So looked really, really good. Everybody, toast yourself, Browns fans, with a victory sip. And now, the win was good, but now I get to bring in my old buddy from I've interviewed on TSN, Sportsnet, all around the country. My guy from SiriusXM NFL Radio, Zig Fracassi, is going to jump in, and we're going to talk some NFL Week 4 and a look back. Zig, how are you, sir?
Hey, striking up the band. How you doing, McNamara?
Very good. McNamara's band. It was funny, too. Like I said, we went to a place, Johnny's Little Bar in Cleveland, and the manager's name was McNamara. So we had a McNamara's band picture. It was great.
Sweet.
It was really good. So, okay, let's move. Let's kind of combine the Week 3 look back with what we're moving ahead to Week 4. And when we look at what we're going into, Zig, it's a case where I think, is it safe to say, because you're out on the East Coast, that the Jets and Zach Wilson, despite Robert Saleh's, we're going to stick with Zach Wilson. Yeah, are we looking like they're going for a quarterback now, right? Like you gotta be looking to draft someone. This season's done, no?
Well, yeah, if we're looking that far ahead, I think it's very easy to say that they could be looking at someone. There's no doubt about it. I know that they're bringing back Trevor Siemian, who, again, you're not going to have the, parade at the Canyon of Heroes anytime soon. So,
no.
But, I mean, he does have experience. He does have starting experience. He knows the West Coast offense, but for all the hype and all the sizzle, I was at that opening game on Monday night, Andy, and just the fact that everything was just so euphoric. The Savior's here to, restore the Jets to some semblance of glory that they haven't had since 1969. And then 4 plays in, unfortunately, the Achilles injury, and he's out for the year. So it's just painful to see that, we had heard some hype that maybe Zach Wilson was benefiting under Rodgers' tutelage, that the pressure was off of him a little bit. But we saw him against Dallas, looked like a deer in the headlights, didn't perform much better against the New England Patriots. And now, obviously they got their next game coming up here. So it'll be interesting to see how ultimately this all shakes out. But, yeah, I would think even if Rodgers comes back next year, Andy, I would still think if I'm the Jets, I'd be looking at a quarterback to groom Aaron Rodgers or whoever's the quarterback there.
Yeah, it's just not Zach Wilson. And that happens.
Yeah.
It's just not him. It's done. Like Joe Namath was on NFL Network. He's like, he's not the guy. You can't point to anything but that he's not the guy. But Zig, who is the guy, is Tua and those Dolphins.
Yeah, right.
Brother, 70 points. What are we talking about? And now you play the Bills Sunday, 1:00. I wish they would flex that thing to a primetime event because this is the AFC East division. This is a mega show.
Yeah, and you already have this spice of the Miami-Buffalo rivalry already going. I thought I was watching the 100-meter track meet, for goodness sake, on Sunday. I mean, guys just going up and down the field. I mean,
crazy.
And to see, Tua look like Curly Neal, for goodness sake, on that shuffle pass to a chain,
right.
for the touchdown, and watching Kareem Hunt get by. And here's the best part about that, Andy. They were without Jalen Waddle. They didn't even need the guy, for goodness sake. And then, you got Mostert putting up the 4 touchdowns. So, Mike McDaniel learned a lot from Shanahan. They did a lot of elaborate running scenarios when he was the coach out there in San Francisco. That misdirection that they do, it reminds me somewhat a little bit of the 80s 49ers, because you didn't know where to exactly defend. And if you got so much misdirection, and you got a quarterback who's as insanely accurate as Tua is, but we did see this start last year, so God forbid, knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt again or whatever. But the Dolphins are a veritable track meet, and it's been fun to watch the early go of the season.
In conversation with Zig Fracassi on Twitter at Zig Sports Voice. And Zig, yeah, that Tua health is the main thing. I forgot that Jalen Waddle wasn't in there, but it wasn't even like they were running up the score. Like, they're like, we're going to hand the ball. Denver wanted nothing. They did not want to be in the building. So my question to you is, after Sean Payton, doesn't he look like an idiot? He's blasting Nathaniel Hackett as a terrible coach. This dude gets 70 dropped on him.
Yeah.
What the heck's going on in Denver?
Well, just to finish the thought with Miami for a second, I had Emmanuel Ogbah on and after the game on Sunday, and it was pretty clear, Andy, they had an agenda. The Dolphins did, because Fangio, now the defensive coordinator, had been out in Denver, and the way maybe that was handled, I think there was a little bit of extra spice for that particular matchup. Now to Denver, it's funny, and I like Sean. I think when he's unfiltered, Sean Payton is great unfiltered.
Entertaining.
And he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's got a cachet. He's been to some championship games. But it was interesting to hear him say that they were having problems getting plays called in, communication issues. And I'm saying to myself, well, wasn't this the poop that you were calling Nathaniel Hackett out on? So in other words, now, history is repeating itself. So, and to that defense, I watched bits of their first 3 games. This isn't that vaunted Broncos defense that we've seen the last few years. And you got to wonder just what's going on. Vance Joseph not getting the job done. Bradley Chubb, now all of a sudden that loss looks very big for them. And there's only so much that you can really do in terms of the defense there. But it's a disappointing start. Am I going to say instead of let Russ cook, is Russ cooked? He's a little bit better than he was last year, Andy, but I think when it's all said and done, they got to get all this to meld a little bit. We got to give it time. I mean, it's a new coach, and the hype that this team had because it was Sean Payton probably hit a lot of deficiencies, at least personnel-wise. It's going to take them a while to get this going, even though you have Sean Payton as the coach.
I was just thinking of this, Zig. Could we compare this at least through 3 weeks, and certainly lots of time to turn it around, but at least in the early phases, what jumps to mind to me is the Mike Ditka to the Saints overhype, right? Remember, he was like, the Sports Illustrated, all the pomp, and he was and then it was just a total disaster. Like this is what's jumping to me. I'm like, man, this is kind of like a Ditka 2.0, at least early.
Yeah, and how about the symmetry with the Saints? Ditka coached the Saints, Sean Payton head.
Yeah.
The New Orleans. That's why you are what you are here, the Sick Podcast.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
But in all seriousness, that franchise, I think, was done in by the fact that they traded their entire draft for Ricky Williams.
Yep.
And
for old Ricky. Yep.
Yeah, and I know Mike was trying to make an impact there, and unfortunately, it didn't work. So I could see a little bit of a parallel there, but with all the hype and all the sizzle, sometimes, Andy, it just doesn't really match what's been, reported and what people are hoping to see.
That's right. And, it's a massive matchup really for them Sunday. They go into Chicago. Denver's a 3.5-point favorite, which is kind of bizarre. The Bears didn't give up 70, but boy, you think they probably could have. And Justin Fields questioning coaches. And, a lot of Ohio State's fans listen to the show. And, I like Justin Fields coming out, and CJ Stroud had a great week with the Texans. But this Bears team, like Zig, I would thought coming in, they were way overhyped. People saying Justin Fields, I thought, okay, I think they're going to be a bit better, but let's pump the brakes. There's still a lot missing on that Bears team, and I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, little brotherly love, I guess. I mean, whenever you got, Justin Fields, who I still think has a fair amount of talent, and let's face it, he doesn't have Jerry Rice and Steve Largent as wide receivers, or Kellen Winslow in his prime as a tight end, or the Great Wall of Dallas for his offensive line. So all these variables there, and I know he tried to do his Michael Jackson backpedal with the comments he made, but usually, Andy, it's the first comments that are the truth. And I know people around the NFL, I know people around Chicago saying that, maybe he isn't being utilized to the best of his abilities. I've always said, if you've got the talent, you adapt to what they do the best.
Yeah.
Maybe Coach Getsy there, who's running the offense, isn't doing that. So is it a plea that, maybe the coaching staff is part of the problem? Sure. They tried to, with the DJ bringing in more in the off season, the receiver from Carolina to complement Moody. Chase Claypool's been a disappointment.
He's a head case.
Yeah, from Pittsburgh. The line still remains a train wreck. It's a poop show. Let's call it what it is. What it is in Chicago, Andy.
It is. I'm not touching any betting line with that game, Zig. That just seems like you're begging to lose money. That's a total wild card.
Can you imagine? It's one of those scenarios like years ago, and I think I saw this on NFL Films where somebody said that they had placed 2 tickets on their windshield because they were going to a tailgate parking lot. They got back, there were 4 more pair. I wonder if that's going to happen there at Soldier Field on Sunday. If somebody wants to go tailgate, here's 2 tickets, and then they come back, there's like 10 more pair.
There's more. Let me get out of here.
Right?
Oh, all right. A couple more quick ones for you. 3 teams remain undefeated at 3-0. We have the Dolphins, who we talked about. We have the 49ers, who look as complete as just about anybody. Yeah. And then you have the Eagles who got to the Super Bowl. So out of those 3, is someone a pretender in your mind? Are they all legit? How are you feeling about those 3 remaining undefeated squads?
Well, you got 2 of them that were in the NFC Championship game last year, so they both look legit. Philadelphia, they were chunking some big yardage. Yeah. Although it was a little bit of a concern yesterday that they were stalling a bit in the red zone against Tampa Bay, so I'm sure Coach Sirianni is going to look at that going forward. San Francisco is a machine. And obviously Mr. Irrelevant's not so irrelevant. Brock Purdy has been the great fit. We all know that they're solid defensively, and the health there, though, when as long as McCaffrey remains healthy, then they're a favorite. Miami, I'm sure there's a little bit of let's wait and see. I think, Andy, we get a good barometer Sunday against the Bills as to just how legit they are. So I would definitely say the NFC powers there, Philly and San Fran, are, quote, legit. Miami, if they get by Buffalo, then maybe we could start saying they're legit too.
Right. But like you said, the main thing is Tua has to stay healthy. Last year we saw it was 6-0, 6-1, whatever with him in the line. He goes out, that team's done. And he's been injured like every year in college and the pros. So we'll have to see how that goes there. I'm with you on the 49ers. They're just absolutely incredible. So when we look at the rest here, we have the Chiefs, who all the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got his touchdown.
Yeah, we haven't had enough of that hype, huh?
I know.
Lord.
It's like, all right, yeah.
Enough.
Well, apparently, you know what? Apparently Adele is dating someone from Cleveland, so she said at a concert that she's a Browns fan. How about that?
Oh,
yeah.
Boy.
I'll take Adele. Come on.
Yeah, combined 0. Any of those 2 artists, I'm sure they're great. I couldn't name you one song to save their mind.
Right. That's
I'm
all right.
classic rock, Andy, believe
Listen,
me.
man. Yeah, we're focused on rock and roll and football here, right? Cleveland
We
Rock
are
and
in
Roll Hall of
Cleveland.
Fame.
It is the rock and roll city there.
Right?
So,
Exactly. We
yeah.
got the Hall of Fame and all that. Okay, well, what's the biggest storyline to you going into week 4? And we'll let you out on that one because we have things like, okay, can the Bengals and Joe Burrow's tender calf handle the Titans who the Browns
That
just put
was
the
rough
boots
to
to?
watch last night, by the way.
Right? Eked it
They were
out.
protecting him, and I give them credit for doing that, but it was painful to watch. And you could just tell the young man was compromised. It wouldn't have shocked me had they rested him, but they didn't, and he did the job.
Yeah.
That's more like to the Rams, too. What was their problem? I mean, Stafford's healthy,
Right.
but give Cincinnati credit. Anarumo had a good defensive game plan. They gutted the win out. I'm not sure they're quite totally, fixed, so to speak. They got to watch, though, that calf with Burrow going forward.
That's rough. And Burrow said, he's like, I could have rested it, but we also could have gone 0-3. So leadership, but that's tender.
Zeke Elliott returning to Dallas. That should be good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's see how many touches he gets.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You don't think he's going to be a little fired up for that?
I think so. And Dallas 7-point favorites.
Yeah, that's not really surprising. New England, they won. I mean, they beat the Jets. Now, was it 15 straight times? But it wasn't like they lit the world on fire. There's still questions about Mac Jones. Cowboys, let's give Arizona credit. Everybody said that Dallas is just going to go in there and roll over them. Arizona is now beating them 7 of the last 8. Arizona, a couple of bad halves away, Andy. They could conceivably be 3-0. And Josh Dobbs, since his acquisition, look at the passing stats. He's in the top 10 in several of the different important categories. So maybe Dallas didn't take them the way they should have, but Arizona playing hard under the new coach Gannon.
Yep, came from the Browns, so they got him there. Yeah, interesting. And we'll leave you out on this one. Browns playing the Ravens. Ravens coming in. Both teams 2-1. Ravens getting shocked by the Colts. Justin Tucker missing another kick, a 61-yarder. You can forgive it. But they rested a lot of players. They rested about 7 players, and there's some talk that maybe the Ravens thought they could sleepwalk their way to a win and rest them up for the Browns. Well, they lost, and that makes this game in Cleveland very important for the AFC North with Ravens coming.
Andy, I don't know if I would say they rested them. I think they've just been, with the injuries. My gosh. I mean, you could talk about that too. It's like this early in the season and you've got so many guys injured. I mean, could it be, I don't know. I'm not there every day, but a logical guess could be, is Harbaugh working them too hard in practice? Right. The diet, the strength, the nutrition. Are they doing too much? Are they not paying attention? Whatever the case may be, to have that many injuries early in the season remains a concern. Your Browns, that was a nice win for them, but you got to temper it just a little bit because, quite frankly, I'm not sure how good the Titans are.
They didn't look great. They did not look great.
No, so you got to temper it a little bit. Again, Watson did look more like the Watson we saw with the Houston Texans, but that's going to be a good game. It wouldn't stun me if the Browns pull out a victory on Sunday.
Well, right now, Browns are 2.5-point home favorites, which pretty much is a wash.
That's about right. Yeah, that's about right. The reason they're favorite, it's a talent thing, but they always give at least 3 points or more to the home edge, so that's why they're the favorite. The
Browns defense, which is first in a lot of categories versus Lamar Jackson, I think is that play I want to see. Okay, you did that to Tannehill.
Right.
And Joe Burrow on one leg. How do you do it against Lamar Jackson?
You got to keep him, I think, in the pocket. And until he starts being more comfortable, and I think that's what they're trying to do there with the new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, and he's got more weapons to work with. But I got to tell you, if I'm a Browns fan, having Jim Schwartz on your sideline, that cat can coach some aggression. Yeah. And I love his persona. I mean, he's the son of a Baltimore police officer, for goodness sake. So you got that tie-in. But Jim Schwartz was a real good ad, and they already had the dogs, so to speak, with Zadarius Smith now added to the mix there with Miles. So they could wreak havoc. I could see them winning on Sunday.
Boy, I hope you're right, Zig. Hey, man, tell people where they can hear you, find you, all that good stuff.
Andy, appreciate it. Again, you mentioned it at Zig Sports Voice on Twitter. Updates throughout the week on the platform of SiriusXM channels, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturdays, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm with former Vikings GM Rick Spielman for the End Zone. That's on Channel 88 in the SiriusXM app. And then after Sunday Night Football with Matt Sims, the son of Super Bowl MVP Phil Sims, part of the Sims family. We're on Sunday Night Football until 2 a.m. Eastern. Again, Channel 88 and the SiriusXM app.
Putting in the work, my man. Always a pleasure, Zig. Talk to you soon.
Strike up the band, baby. Yeah. Thanks, Andy.
All right, buddy. We'll see you later. There he goes. Zig Fracassi. I love Zig. Talking to Zig for years. That's just a phenomenal guy. Great person. And, of course, his insight is second to none. So, yeah, SiriusXM NFL Radio, always bringing it to Zig Fracassi. Phenomenal. So, yeah, we look at some of those games. 2.5-point favorites for the Browns early on. A lot of survivor pools went bust last week. A lot of Cowboys who picked the Cowboys gone. I picked the Jaguars, and you lost to the Texans. I feel good for C.J. Stroud, but that one sucked. That's a bad loss for the Jaguars, and all of a sudden they're 1-2, and you have the Falcons 2-1 coming in. That's a pick 'em to me. Jags are early 3-point favorites at home. That's a pick 'em, and the Jaguars could be going skating backwards a lot faster than they intended. So interesting. All right, so we got the Browns. We're feeling good. Win. We're looking ahead to Baltimore, but we also have to look ahead to week 4 in fantasy football. Let's go under the waiver wire here. Let's look. All right. So this was a interesting week, and boy, I hope you guys listened to when I said you pick up Tutu Atwell from the Rams, even in the loss. Put up some great numbers. Puka's long gone. It's still so strange. Those two out of nowhere. It happens, right? Okay. And we have a couple Twitter questions as well that will pop up. And you have any more in the comment section, I'll make sure to answer those. You can leave them. Hashtag Ask Andy on Instagram and TikTok, at Andy MC Sports on Twitter, at Andy MC 81, and at Sick Pod Browns. So let's bring up the questions first. If you guys got the tweets there. Let's bring up one. Okay, here we go. We got from at Breaksin44, need to replace Justin Fields? What are my, so I don't know if he's asking or what are my options as most good QBs are taken? That's right, Brent. Yeah, it's tough. And here's the thing. Whenever you're looking to replace, you have to think, who are you getting in? The knee-jerk reaction, and I don't blame you, is Justin Fields, get him out of my fantasy life. Get him out of here. But the problem is, like you said, there's not a lot of great options. And even when the Bears are not playing well, Justin Fields can still be fantasy relevant. We saw it last year. We've seen it already this year. So he still can run. He still can throw. He can get garbage time. My God, Blake Bortles did it for years, right? So I wouldn't be so quick to dump him. However, take a look to see who's still available on your squad. I was doing some research here, and we look at Jordan Love of the Packers, 69% rostered. So gone in a lot of leagues, but still 31% where he's still there. If Jordan Love is there, you got to jump on it. And look, again, long-term, I don't think Jordan Love I think he's going to get figured out, but I can't argue with the results. The guy's he's not turning the ball over. He's putting up 20-plus fantasy points, throwing multiple touchdowns. He goes Thursday night against the Lions. So I would check out Jordan Love. Now, if he's gone, the next step down is Justin Fields, alumni man from Ohio State, C.J. Stroud. And C.J. Stroud might be the look if you definitely want to get rid of Justin Fields. Now, the Texans stink. Okay, we know this. They beat the Jaguars. But look at this, 21% rostered for C.J. Stroud. Now, he's facing the Steelers. So here might be my advice. I don't love him going up against the Steelers. Rookie quarterback with T.J. Watt and Highsmith. Not the best matchup. But after that, you're playing Atlanta and you have a nice little stretch. So if you can, maybe hold on to Fields, drop a bench player that you're not going to play anyway, pick up CJ Stroud, and then look to play Stroud next week. Gives you a bit of time. You can see what Fields does, but then you have Stroud already there before he might pop. And you can get him this week against the Steelers. But I would hesitate playing him based on that defense. But overall, he has no interceptions on the year. He's thrown 2 touchdowns in each of his last 2. And he's adapting quickly to NFL defenses. So get the jump on him. And then in a real desperation, not for you, Brent, this is not for your situation, but overall, if you're looking to add a QB and you're desperate and it's a thin league, Andy Dalton versus the Vikings. Vikings defense is soft. Dalton's available. 98% availability for the Panthers. Looks like Bryce Young's going to be out again. Dalton, we've seen in the past, can get you those high teen numbers, sometimes pop up. Guy can still play a bit. Look good last week, right? So for fantasy purposes, Andy Dalton, more of a desperation play, but that's if you're in a deep league or all those other two are gone, Andy Dalton could be an option for you. So take a look. Okay, let's put up the next tweet here. Hashtag Ask Andy on Twitter. We got my guy Thunderwolf at TWolf1979. Is it time to drop Joshua Kelly from the roster? If so, who's a decent backup replacement? Hashtag Ask Andy. Hashtag Fantasy Football. Here's the difficult part with Joshua Kelly. He's still going to be, even when Eckler comes back, a high-end handcuff. Okay. Now, the Chargers are weird. And I would say if we're looking at it, especially with Mike Williams going down with ACL, again, that's why I don't draft Mike Williams. The guy always gets injured. Always gets injured. So we look at Josh Kelly. First week looked good, got a touchdown. Last 2 weeks, look, I don't blame you. Okay. 1 catch last game, 12 yards on 11 carries. Nasty. So Kelly could be getting replaced. He could be going into a committee. It's dicey. I would try to not drop him. I wouldn't want to start him, but because of how thin the running back group can go, you might want to hold on to him just in case. Now, if you don't have anyone else to drop, maybe you have to. So if we look at running backs, not a lot of dominant options out there. And that's what happens this time of year, right? You got to look for those guys who are going to pop. That's why last week's show, I said that was the time to get in on a Kendre Miller. 33% rostered still. I like his upside more. It was his first game back from injury as a rookie. Now, Alvin Kamara is coming back, but he, again, sort of fits into that handcuff range when Tony Jones Jr. is going to drop down to the 3rd spot on that Saints roster. And you're going to have Jameis Winston chucking it around this week. That's going to be fun. So maybe Kendre Miller. Would I drop Kendre for Joshua straight up? I wouldn't. But would I drop somebody else who you're not going to play? Maybe like a Tank Bigsby for Jacksonville if you got just an extra guy. Then I would. I would get Miller because as a rookie, they're high on him. As he gets more comfortable coming back from injury, that could be a guy when we're looking at week 7, 8. Maybe it's like, ooh, how do we get him? 33% rostered. Tony Jones Jr., another kind of stash, but that's not going to be great. If you got anyone specific or a screenshot maybe of who's on your waiver wire at running back, send it in. But right now, to me, Kendre Miller is the best option. Couple wide receivers. I mentioned Mike Williams, torn ACL. So who steps up? Well, Joshua Palmer, 5% rostered only. Now, he has the higher floor, lower ceiling than the rookie Quentin Johnson, who is 33% owned. Talented deep threat, has not found the chemistry yet with Justin Herbert. Now, he very well could, probably will. So it depends on your risk reward. I think Joshua Palmer is going to give you a quicker payout, but doesn't have that upside that Quentin Johnson necessarily has. So for Palmer, he's had his target share jump from 5 to 7 week over week, caught a touchdown last week. So that's the play I would do there. Another one, Tank Dell for the Texans. Now, I got in on Tank Dell last week. I think I might have mentioned him on the show as well. If you haven't, this dude, 2 weeks in a row, he's going to be one of the hottest wide receiver ads. 33% rostered, so he's available. I got him when he was like 10% rostered. We're talking 145 yards, led the Texans in receptions and targets in that upset win over the Jags. Back-to-back games of over 20 fantasy points, touchdown in each. And it is a difficult matchup against Pittsburgh. That, again, is someone grab him. Maybe you don't want to start him if you don't have to against the Steelers. But after that, you can run with Tank Dell. He's taking over for Nico Collins. Like it's Stroud and Dell. And then tight ends. I know I always get tight end questions. We got a few tweets on just tight end in general. This is why, folks, when I tell you, I say beginning of the year, you don't want to listen to draft the tight end. Draft one of the good ones high. This is what happens. We're going into week 4 and you're panicking. That doesn't get great. Now we look again to the Chargers. Donald Parham Jr., 1% rostered, 2 touchdowns last week. The bad news is it was on 2 catches for 4 yards. The epitome of touchdown dependent. If he's not catching a touchdown, it's not good. But we have been seeing a growing connection and comfortableness with Justin Herbert looking for Parham Jr. in the red zone. So it's better than Hayden Hurst, who's sitting out there. Evan Ingram is still there. 6 catches, 6 targets, but he's not getting touchdowns. So he's getting you 7 fantasy points, right? So if you need to add a tight end, Donald Parham Jr. is the guy I'm looking at. Playing the Raiders, definitely beatable. So that's what you can do. And he's probably gone, but he is still available in 20% of most Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Sam Laporta of the Lions. Ooh, boy. Dude, he's a unicorn for rookie tight ends in fantasy football. The guy's balling out. But so probably take it, but 20%, take a look. Right? Take a look to see if he's available. Breaking that mold. Usually rookie tight ends, nothing. But he contributed instantly as a pass catcher. Targets, catches, yards have gone up each week. Added a touchdown in the win over Atlanta. And a great fantasy matchup with a possible shootout between Love and Goff on Thursday night for Packers Lions. That gets into a shootout. Laporta's going to be getting the football. So if he's out there, one, start him. And if you can get him, it might be worth some fab, throwing some bucks on it. But at the very least, checking that out. So there you go. There's your fantasy football. Before we wrap up, look, that Browns defense, like I said, historic. The third down, I wanted to get to this real quick. The third down, the fewest conversions in the entire NFL, 19.5%. The best ever is 24.4% by the Patriots in 2019. Browns on a historic pace. But also, we got a message from our new guys, our pals at DraftKings. Let's talk about this, folks, okay? DraftKings, you know them, you love them. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use DraftKings code SICKSPORTS. So just write SICK-SPORTS to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL bet. So you bet $5, DraftKings gives you $200. Come on, you're not getting a better bet than that. That's a phenomenal deal. And it's with DraftKings. Tons of fun. Lots you can do on there. So $5, $200. Use SICKSPORTS as the code. All right, kids, that'll do it. Sunday, we'll be back live 10 a.m. for all your fantasy football news notes and get you ready for Browns versus Ravens. Let's get those Ratbirds. Okay. Thanks to Zig Fracassi. Thanks to DraftKings. Thanks to Sammy. Thanks to all of you. We will see you Sunday. And as always, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.